Do you feel like Russ makes Pittsburgh a Super Bowl threat?
I think so. I'm not trying to say they're the favorites, but you've got to pay attention to them. They're number one in the AFC North. They're a game ahead of the Baltimore Ravens. We've been talking about Baltimore Ravens, but we've also been talking about slippage on Kansas City's offense, okay? And we wonder that even though we know the greatness of Patrick Mahomes to ultimately lift you, and we give major props to Kansas City's defense, the bottom line is we look at Buffalo. You got Amari Cooper. They've upgraded. Obviously, you look at Baltimore. They've been shaky defensively. You look at Kansas City. They've been shaky offensively. You look at Houston just suffering the Stephon Diggs injury, okay? And we got to wonder how that's going to affect the team. I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers. We have no questions about their defense. Offensively, with Justin Fields, averaging 20.7 points per game with 293 yards in the 6 games that he played with a 4-2 record. They've won 3 straight, okay? Russell Wilson, 2-0 in those 3 games. He had the 2 starts. 31.5 points, 417.5 yards. That's more like it. If you're telling me that Russell Wilson could continue to look this way with the Steelers defense led by the one and only TJ Watt, that brother right there. If you're talking about that, I can't dismiss the Pittsburgh Steelers as a threat when their defense is led by that man. That's what I'm saying.
Two things. Russell Wilson and the offense got booed a game and a half ago in the first half against the Jets.
What they do in the second half? What did they do in the second half?
Thanks to Aaron Rodgers.
What did they do in the second half? They outscored them 31-0.
I had a good second half.
All right, then watch your mouth.
That's number one. Number two, it was 9-9 against the Giants in a half before they got a punt return touchdown. So before he put the Steelers in the 76 class or 75 when they beat when they won the Super Bowl, they won the back-to-back Cowboys, and of course then they won 2 more later on. Can we take it easy? Here's the next 2 games. Here's the next 2 games after their bye. At Washington, home Baltimore. And their schedule second half is brutal.
They're going to win one of those games.
Let me see Pittsburgh win. Okay, let me see a split. And then we can look at that schedule, Steve.
I'm looking
Commanders, Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, and Bengals.
You recall at the beginning of the season.
We talked about it.
At the beginning of the season, my huge trepidation about the Steelers was from this point forward because of that monster schedule.
Once the bye hit, yeah.
Okay? But they handled their business thus far with what they had to work with. Now we shall see.
So let me just tell you about my genius. So in the preseason, I said that the Steelers could win this division given their quarterback situation with Justin and Russell Wilson. So I feel very good about that prediction. However, the Super Bowl, the bridge too far. I'm not going there yet. But the question of whether does Russell Wilson make the Steelers a Super Bowl threat, I would say no. It really is Trent Jordan Watt. It is TJ that makes them the threat. It is that defense. The Steelers know, Mike Tomlin knows that it's not about the quarterbacks necessarily. They're not the focal point of the offense. They're not the focal point of the team. They win with their run game and they win with their defense. So I will give Russell credit, though, from the standpoint of in the games that he's played, particularly when targeting George Pickens, 20.6 yards per completion compared to Justin Fields, 13.8 yards per completion. The offense, we're looking at them, it is explosive. Russell, he's throwing dimes. He looks like vintage Russell right now.
It has looked impressive.
He does have to keep it up. But again, when I look at the Steelers, I think about their offense going against some of the defenses that they're going to face in the playoffs. And when you've got to face like the Chiefs, when you got to face some of these really good teams, that's where I work. So I think this is a playoff team. Super Bowl is a bridge.
Well, again, I'm just thinking it's almost by default because I'm talking about the deficiencies that the other teams have. You know, if they're fully loaded, obviously I don't feel that way about the Steelers, especially when I'm looking at them and they rank 28th in red zone TD efficiency this season. That's not good. You got to be able to convert in the red zone. Went 0-4 on Monday night in the red zone against the Giants as well. I got to pay attention to that. But I also saw Russell Wilson throw for 147 yards. Complete 9 of his 10 passes in the second half. I saw it. And that first game that you talked about, they were being booed. That was his first start. Okay? So in that first half against the Jets, let's keep that in mind. Second half, he comes on strong. I'm looking at the receivers who are very, very happy with him. knowing that they're going to get to touch the football downfield. With Justin Fields, he's going to make plays with his legs. With Russell Wilson, those receivers are going to get fed. And when you've got that going on, I think that brings a different dimension that we all have to pay attention to. And it will always be TJ. I don't give a damn about his full real name. It is TJ Watt. Let's not mess that. Let's not mess that. That brother is something special. He is the real deal.
And give Justin Fields credit. He was 4-2. They took him out, and he has been very supportive on that bench.
Yeah.
He's got a smile on his face.
He's the future.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but he's moaning and he's not moaning and groaning. He's supported Wilson, and he was 4-2 when they benched him. So you got to give Fields credit for the way he's handling.
Two other things. Najee Harris, third straight game for over 100 yards rushing.
Well.
That's a big deal. And I told you about that cat, Jalen Warren. They're a different team when that brother's in there out of the backfield. Two good backs. I'm sorry. I like what I'm seeing.
Credit to Mike Tomlin for not listening to anybody.
Yeah.
Questioning his decision to turn back to Russell.
Yeah. Never
gave him a
count out
chance.
Mike
I was
Tomlin
surprised
team.
he did it, and so far it's worked out. Give him credit.
Here's Russ.
We got great confidence. We haven't done anything yet. You know, we're obviously sitting here at 6-2, which is a great thing, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. When we look back at it all, we got to be making sure that we're staying focused on the next task, because we got a surge ahead of us that we got to go get. And there's a lot of great games ahead of us, and we're not going to shy away from them.
Do you believe the Steelers will win the AFC North?
Yeah, Stephen, I agree with you, but I'm a little bit more concerned after Sunday than I was going into Sunday. Because when I look at this team, yes, the Ravens can score, but do we believe they're going to get up and down the field against that defense? Because we know one thing, the Steelers do not let you run the football. I mean, last night notwithstanding, is that, but then are we sure the Ravens are going to give Derrick Henry the football enough so he can get the carries that he needs to possibly break the Steelers? Because that's not what they did Sunday. Derrick Henry was averaging 6.6 yards a carry, but he only had 11 carries. They only had 17, 18 rushes, and they threw the ball, they had 21 rushes, but they allowed Lamar to throw the ball 21 times. You have a formula, you have a recipe that can be very, very successful. That's why you went out and got Derrick Henry. So I'm a little concerned because I'm not so sure that the Ravens can get to that magic number and put enough pressure on Russ to make them throw the football consistently and not rely so much on that running game. They've seemed to have found over the last, 3 weeks, they've been able to run the football as well as anybody with Najee Harris, backing it up with 3 straight games with, I think, almost 100, well, he had 100, close to 100, no, he was over 100 last night. 3 games of 100 yards. So I'm a little more concerned than I was now than I was going into Sunday, because it was, for me, a no-brainer. They were going to be tied, both to be 6-2. But I was shocked how well Cleveland played and how poorly Baltimore played. I think it's going to come down to maybe the last 2 games of the season, but I do like the Ravens to ultimately overtake the Steelers.
So with week 10 almost here, we got some good picks coming in the way, and we actually do like the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially against the Washington Commanders. So this one is a little bit of an underdog one, but we do like the value, and we see a lot of value in this pick, and because of that, we're going to be going with Pittsburgh Steelers to win, and we're going to be putting in $10 for this bet right here. So the potential winning is $13, but we do this on BetUS, guys. Definitely go check out BetUS. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, 150% bonus on your first deposit, and then 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. So you definitely would want to go check them out. Absolute great website for BetUS. So we're going to place this bet right here. We're going to click confirm, and just like that, we are good to go. We got our money on the Steelers, and we think there's definitely going to be an upset, and Steelers are going to take this win. So definitely go check out BetUS, guys. Like I mentioned, fastest payouts in the industry, 150% bonus on your first deposit, and then 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. So definitely go check them out, and let's get back into the video. So with all that being said, the Steelers do have themselves a pretty good matchup coming into week 10, because they do actually face off against none other than the Washington Commanders. So it is going to be a very exciting game, and as we all know, Washington Commanders have definitely surprised a lot of people, but on top of everything else, they are definitely the stronger team, and they are favorites to win this game. However, I do believe Steelers can definitely still pull this off. Anything can really happen, and coming into this game for the Steelers, it is definitely going to be a big game for them. them if they are able to pull it off. Now, Steelers right now are 6-2, so they do have a pretty good record as we see right now. I do believe they can make it 7-2 coming into this next game against Washington Commanders. They definitely will have to push the pace as much as they can, and when it comes to stat-wise, we definitely see that the numbers have been looking good, for players like Russell Wilson, Justin Fields when he has been playing, and even others to add into the mix. George Pickens and also Calvin Austin, I think, has surprised a lot of people. So there's definitely a lot going for Pittsburgh Steelers coming into this matchup, and I do believe they are going to be able to get it done. Now, when it comes to what happened just before the trade deadline ended, or pretty much around the trade deadline ended, the Steelers actually were able to add a former Bengals DT to their practice squad, as the Steelers have already filled up one of their practice squad spots, signing defensive tackle Dominique Davis. Now, the move was announced via the NFL Transaction Wire and first reported by Alan Saunders of Steelers Now, and Davis went undrafted in 2020 out of UNC Pembroke, signing with the New York Jets. In his final collegiate season in 2019, he recorded 41 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. The 6'3", 315-pound defender was cut by the Jets following a failed physical before his rookie season, which he attributed to needing a surgery. He spent the spring of 2022 with Houston Gamblers of the USFL, and because of that, it has had Davis return to the NFL in the summer of 2022.